Hi everyone, my name is Natalie. Today is Wednesday the 14th of August, and tomorrow the Wainwright Prize winner will be announced. And I had initially planned to do a whole prediction video and talking through the shortlist and all my thoughts and everything. But I haven't actually finished all of the shortlist. In fact, a lot of them I've just started. So instead, what I'm going to be doing is talk about my currently reading. The books that I am currently making my way through, mostly those are Wainwright books. So I will talk more about the book that I think will win the prize this year. There's a lot of books in my currently reading pile, and I think the main reason for that is just that I've been in a weird reading mojo ever since I came home. I feel like I've said that in previous videos as well, but I've just not quite found my reading mojo after vacation. So I've been reading a lot of books, but I haven't actually been reading that much in total in time and per book. So I've only sort of dipped my toe into several books trying to figure out what I am engaging with the most. So that's the reason that there's so many books. Otherwise, usually I'm not reading these many books at the same time. I'll start off with the books that are not Wainwright related. So we have Metamorphoses by Ovid, which I've only just started reading the introductions. I will probably be reading this for a long time. I have a feeling that this will be ongoing for some time because it is a collection of myths that Ovid is telling all about transformation of various kinds. So the reason I decided to pick this up is because I read Circe by Madeleine in the summer in July, and I loved it so much that I wanted to read more of the original Greek myths. And one of the reasons I was particularly interested in this book is because a lot of the myths included in this are related to Circe, who was the daughter of Helios. She had witch powers, and she had the ability to transform people into animals. So there's a few stories in this that relate to her, and I'm interested to learn more about her and become more familiar with the mythology around her, but also just in general to read some ancient Greek mythology and ancient Greek literature. A book that I have showed off in connection to Women in Translation Month, I did a full TBR for that, and the book that I'm currently reading from the TBR is Cottage by Eva Meijer, translated from the German by Antoinette Fawcett. So this is telling the story of a woman who decides to move to the English countryside and spends all of her time studying birds. So this opens with her studying the bird population outside of her house, and someone sent from the government to cut down the hedges around where the birds live. So she's really outraged by this, partly because the birds will die through the cutting of the hedge, but also because it's part of her life work to study these birds and their behaviors. I've enjoyed what I've read of this so far. I like the bird aspects of it, definitely. There's sort of interludes with her work. Seems like she's reading from her notes of the observations that she's doing, which I am really enjoying because of the nature aspect of it. But the surprise with this is that it's actually also historical fiction. I'm not sure when the contemporary timeline is, but definitely there are several sections when it's going back in time from her childhood, which is set in the beginning of the 20th century. So not necessarily a bad thing, because I've really enjoyed historical fiction lately. So not a bad thing, just a surprise. A book that I started just before I returned from my vacation is The Lonely City, Adventures in the Art of Being Alone by Olivia Laing, which is all about loneliness. She's looking at loneliness from a personal perspective, from a perspective of sort of psychiatry and science surrounding the experience of it, how we understand it, how we perceive it from the outside. But she's also looking at art in the way that it has portrayed loneliness. So she's looking through the lens of art and specific artists. One of the artists that she's talking about is Edward Hopper, that I really enjoyed those pieces because I really like Hopper's paintings. So I really enjoyed her discussion around what he's doing with his paintings in capturing these moments in characters' lives that when they're seen and observed in their lonely state. I'm really enjoying this so far. I found it very thoughtful and thought-inspiring. The only thing really that has put me off this is that I connected very strongly with vacation and traveling, and I just haven't been in the mood to pick it up after I've returned. So hopefully I can just get to this when I've made more progress with my Wainwright reading. And the last non-Wainwright related book that I'm currently reading is an audiobook, which is Overstory by Richard Powers, which was a big book last year. I mean, I think, did it win the Man Booker or was it just nominated for the shortlist? I think it won. But I bought it in connection with that last year with all of the intentions of reading it immediately and then not getting to it because it's a big book. It's a very heavy hardcover. But I just recently started the audiobook that I got through the library, which was fantastic. And so far it's really good. So if you don't know, this book is talking about various people with some connection to trees and forests. I think it talks about various, like, some of them work with wood, some of them work in woods or live in near woods or whatever. So you have these human and tree connections. The book itself is divided into sections: roots, trunk, crown, and seeds, I think. And the first section is divided into several characters, and with each character it seems like it's going into that character's entire family tree, or at least a few generations of it. So I've only read 2 characters so far. I've heard that all of the characters introduced in the Overstory sort of come together eventually, but I've not gotten to that point yet, so I don't really know what to expect, but I'm enjoying the style of it. It's told in an interesting way in that you're sort of feeling like you're in the core of everything that's happening, but also like you're hearing the narration from a distance, seeing things on the outside. So it's very interestingly written, but I'm enjoying it, and I'm definitely enjoying the nature aspect of it. And it's also connecting really well with my Wainwright reading. So that is what I'm going to be talking about now. So the Wainwright Prize winner will be announced, as I said, tomorrow, Thursday, the 15th of August. And so far from the shortlist, I've read, I think, 3 books, and I am currently reading the rest of the shortlisted books. I've just started all of them. I've just sort of opened the books and read a few pages of all of them so that I have more of a sense of the shortlist as a whole. And I will be talking about my thoughts at the moment, and also give you my prediction for the winner, because I do have a feel for a winner, but I'm not sure if that's actually going to be accurate. So the only Wainwright book that I'm currently reading that did not make it to the shortlist is Wild Women Swimming by Lynne Roper. I started this in Italy and have made my way very slowly through this. It's not really a book that you read in one go because it has a very strong journal structure to it. It's basically Lynne Roper's journal of various wild swims that she has made over a course of, I think, 7 or 8 years. Each time that she is swimming outdoors, she writes about that particular place, the weather there, who she's swimming with, some of the challenges or surprises in that particular place, and swimming in that particular place. And so it's almost technical in the way that it's written. I will show you a page just to give you a sense of the style that is structured. So far it hasn't been very engaging to me, and I think it's just that I'm not personally a swimmer, and what I am drawn to in reading about swimming is the thoughtfulness around it, sort of writers thinking about swimming and engaging around it in more of a broader or bigger discussion. But this isn't really that. She's just sort of chronicling various swims, and I'm guessing that you'll get more of a sense of her emotional connection to outdoor swimming over the course of the whole book. At the moment, I'm just feeling like it's sort of piecemeal, or it's sort of fragmentary in the style of it, so we shall see, but that is how I'm feeling at the moment with this. Then we have the shortlisted books that I have not read. The one that I've made most progress with is Thinking on My Feet, The Small Joy of Putting One Foot in Front of Another by Kate Humble. This is also told in a journal style, but in comparison to Wild Women Swimming, I feel like this is more of an emotional style. So she's writing about walking and what you can see when you're walking, sort of having that slow pace, actually allowing you to observe a lot of things around you and to think. It's sort of a love letter to walking, and I feel like there's a lot of books on that subject recently. It feels like it's sort of a trend. While they have the similar sort of sports journal kind of structure to them, Kate Humble seems to use the actual walking and the observing of the details around her immediate situation as a starting point to talk about other things as well. So she relates to other walks that she's made or other thoughts that she's had, not just the immediate circumstances. Then we have Out of the Woods by Luke Turner, which is blurbed by Olivia Laing, funnily enough. So this is Luke Turner's, I think, sort of a memoir of his relationship with a woman falling apart, him having sort of a personal crisis of, especially surrounding his sexuality. So he's bisexual, but he seems to be craving sort of men in his life, and he's trying to figure those things out, his feelings about that, and figure his identity out, I think, in a lot of ways. It seems like it's a part of him that he has tried to hide away or to forget about, and at the point where this book opens, it seems like he's just sort of cracked when he can't keep all of those feelings inside anymore, and that he sort of needs to deal with that. It appears that he is seeking solace through the nature around him, and in particular the Epping forest, that is a forest close to where he lives, and that he was also close to growing up. So he has this emotional connection with this place. So far is really honest, which I appreciate. One of the things I'm enjoying is that the forest itself is such a complicated character. I think it would even be worth calling it a character. It is a place that he feels is quite magical, and his parents, who are very Christian, see it as this very innocent and pure place. But it is also the location for several crimes that has been committed. So it's sort of this complicated identity of the place itself. Then we have the gigantic Underland by McFarlane. This is kind of hard to explain, but basically it is talking about what is going on under our feet. Sort of the meaning of Underland, the soil underneath us, the sort of the web of life in connection with roots and trees underneath the ground, all of the things. So the description of this says, Underland is an epic exploration of the Earth's underworlds as they exist in myth, literature, memory, and the land itself. In the first section of this, he talks about how we have used the Underland in so many different ways, and often contradictory ways. So I will read that part because I feel like it's such a good way of thinking about it. It's such an interesting way to think about it. The same three tasks recur across cultures and epochs: to shelter what is precious, to yield what is valuable, and to depose what is harmful. Into the Underland we have long placed that which we fear and wish to lose, and that which we love and wish to save. So it's sort of I think this book is looking at that paradox of the soil carrying the history of the world and all of the precious things that is carried through the ground, like life, water, all of those things, but also all of the things that we're trying to hide away, and the metaphor for that as well, like what we hide under the surface. So I'm not really sure what to expect of this book, but it's a big book and probably quite ambitious. And Robert McFarlane is an author that I've been looking forward to trying. I've only read his The Lost Words, I think it's called, from last year's Wainwright, which was basically his poetry. So I've not read anything of this length by him so far. And the last one that I'm currently reading, that is the last also on the Wainwright shortlist that I've yet to read, is Our Place: Can We Save Britain's Wildlife Before It's Too Late by Mark Cocker. So this is it's basically a general history of Britain's environmentalism. That's the easiest way to describe this, but it's not only that. He's talking about his personal story as well, and weaves in so many different things in this, as far as I can tell. This is my prediction for the winner. So part of the reason is that he is a really good writer. I've just started reading this, but I'm really liking it. I think this is probably the one that I'm engaging with the most at the moment. Some of the things that he's saying, for example, he described one of his previous books as a genre he calls poetry, the poetry of fact, I think. And I just felt like that was such a good definition of what nature writing is to me. Nature writing seems to bring out the poetry in writers, the poetical or the magical in a writer. So this is a history of environmentalism and sort of environment politics and policies and all of those things, organizations that work for nature conservation and preservation in Britain, in contrast to the decline of Britain's natural landscape and wildlife. So he's talking about the fact that there's this Britain's nature life, natural world is at a worse state than most other European countries, even though there's a really strong environmental engagement in Britain. Because he's talking about environmentalism, that is such a current topic. I feel like climate change is something that is everywhere currently. I think this is one of the more critical books on the shortlist and long list, and that it's taking this historical point of view, I think is going to make it both a very valuable book to have and to read, and something that I haven't really seen before. So it might exist, but I haven't really seen anything like that. And the way that he's approaching the topic, I think that this is running a good chance of winning the Wainwright Prize this year. But we shall see. That is my current thoughts anyway. So those are the books that I'm currently reading and some of my thoughts about the Wainwright Prize this year. Let me know if you've read any of these books or if you would like to read any of them. I would love to know, and also let me know if you're reading something good right now. So yeah, so that was all I had today. I hope you're having a fantastic day, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.